Okay guys, I figured I'd make a video on this. There's not a ton of information on it, and I have not seen one of these engines, but I have remnant parts from them. So I just wanted to talk about the Bastard 40 horse. Now, this was way before my time. Most of these are gone, but over the years I've had random parts that came on them. And like I said, most of these engines, they were recalled. I don't know if I said that already, but Volkswagen recalled them because they were breaking crankshafts. And I've heard people say there's 36 horsepower cases, and they had all this other stuff, which is impossible. A 36 horsepower cannot interchange with a 40 horse. There's no parts that interchange between the two. And so there were very specific parts that came on the Bastard 40 horse that did not come on the later model ones. And I believe that this, and some of this stuff I just have to go by what I see that's so different, okay? Some of it I don't really know because, like I said, these things were way before my time. They're all gone. Maybe I've heard of a few that are around, but you know, I have guys go, hey, I want to build another Bastard 40 horse. And I said, no, you don't, because the crankshafts would break in them. They had a lot of crappy parts on them. They recalled the engines because of major issues. But some of the stuff is still in circulation, like maybe they replaced the long blocks, and this tin, I believe, is from a Bastard 40 horse. If you see, it has this hump on it right here. What they had on the Bastard 40 horse, and I've had a head for one. I think I ended up having to throw it away because it's totally junk. But what they had is, there was like on the side of the engine, on the side of here, they had a metal plate that bolted on the side. It was kind of weird. And it took a different valve cover. So the valve cover had this notch in it. And then it had this thing here to compensate for that extra stuff that was there. Like I said, I have a few pieces like that and some other things. Another thing that came, so if you look at your fan shroud on the 61, this is the fan shroud that was on that car. So like I said, some point they changed the long block. And so I know this is a 40 horse fan shroud. Now your typical 40 horse fan shroud in the later years was like this. It had this shape, and it didn't have the ducts because it had stale air still. So the Bastard 40 horse was a stale air engine, and so I'm not sure when they changed it. I think it was 62, I'm going to say. Without looking in the book, I don't remember. I used to know all this stuff. But if you see here the divot that's in that's for the air cleaner that was on the 40 horse. The earlier air cleaners were like this one, so they didn't need that divot. You see how it's just flush on the end almost? And it didn't need that little divot in it. That's your 36 horsepower fan shroud. Doesn't have that little divot in it. Again, there's a lot of information. There's not a lot of information on them because, again, they were pretty much eliminated. Well, there's, like I said, some remnant ones are around, and the parts from them are around. So I don't know if they just took the fan shroud off of the new long block when they replaced it. And I believe this was the replacement engine. I don't know. It's a WE. So it could have been the replacement engine from the factory for that car. I don't know. But they probably kept the same fan shroud. So these fan shrouds are around. They were early 40 only. I believe they changed this 6 months into it. I'm not sure. But right around there, they started changing to that other style fan shroud. So this is an early 40 because it has the divot in it. So other things that were kind of weird about the Bastard 40 horse is this is a little bit later year fuel pump. But if you notice, it's threaded here on this end, okay, and it had the line connected to it. That was the Bastard 40, but they looked very different. I can't remember exactly what they looked like, but the fuel line on them went straight up like that one, okay? It went straight up, okay? And some of them were bent. I don't remember exactly. Had a factory bend in them. The bus ones were a little different than the Beetle, I think, but they had unique things like that. Now, I've heard something like the rear main seal was like a 36 horse one, and the cases were different. I don't know any of that stuff, guys. I can't even help you there. If they were different, I would not try and build another one again. They took them out of the cars, recalled the engine because of breaking crankshafts, which they already had issues with the later ones. But the early 36, early Bastard 40s would break crankshafts. The heads that I had were Bastard 40. The one that I had with the bolt-on side, it was junk, okay, because the way it was designed. It was just kind of a, I think the 40 horse was like an afterthought. And I don't know. It just, when they first made it, they messed up a lot of things. So they ended up recalling the engine. You know, that's pretty serious when they recall something, you know, especially on a very inexpensive car like a Volkswagen, and they had to recall all those engines. They probably ate tons of money on that. But another thing that might have been on the Bastard 40 that we don't really, I've seen guys say that they had the manual choke. I don't think they did. They showed the manual choke carburetor on one of them, and I don't think they did because this car would have been a Bastard 40 car. It did not have a hole where the choke line was, so it never had one there. So I don't know, maybe some of them in the beginning, you'd find things like this in VWs, is when they ran out of parts or they came into a new line, they would use up old stuff. So maybe they just put choke cables in, a few of them in the very beginning, or maybe they put them in the buses and not in the Beetles. It's kind of an unknown thing. So it could have had an earlier carburetor, the 36 horse one. I got one laying around here. Yeah, you got right over here. I thought it was one, but it's actually not. This is a 28 pick. This is like a 40 horse carburetor right here. Regular 40 horse, and it's got all wrong stuff on it. That solenoid shouldn't be on there. I don't know why that's on there. Anyway, so I believe most of them probably had the regular carburetor, kind of like that one, with a 6-volt setup on them. And another thing that may have been on the Bastard 40 that, again, I've seen in pictures was the metal distributor. It may have had a vacuum advanced metal distributor like the 36 horse did. So those are the types of things that I think that were on them. If you guys want to make comments below on what you've seen on them. I don't think, like I said, the case might have been different, but if you're thinking to try and go back to a Bastard 40, I would not recommend it at all. Okay, that was a recalled engine, and some people think, oh, I've seen people go, oh, I want to put a Bastard 40 in or whatever, because that's what it came with originally. It's like, come on, guys, you know, they recalled it, and then you would have gotten something very similar to what's going in this car, except for I powered it up quite a bit with some better mods. So it would have been, this fan shroud would have been in it. You would have probably gotten the cylinder tin updated. It may have had those style. Okay. The heads would have been changed to the later ones, depending on when you did your recall. They could have done the recall the next year. They could have done it 5 years later. I don't know exactly when they did it. But you would have gotten a lot of updated parts on yours, including probably this fuel pump. Wouldn't have been the one with the thing straight up after that. A lot of guys actually collect those fuel pumps because they're pretty crazy. You know, they're just really rare. You don't see them very often. And again, I don't know on the distributor. It could have been it would have made sense that it might have been the cast iron as they got rid of them. And then when they got rid of enough of them, you would have gotten a big cap distributor like this one. So, yeah, and these are cast iron as well. So these were cast iron. The ones that were on the 36 horse were smaller and cast iron. These ones were bigger, cast iron ones that came after the fact. And went up until, I can't remember exactly what year, but I know in the 65 and 6 that they had the smaller Smaller distributor, it was aluminum. And so I don't know what year it actually switched, because again, like I said, 40s were kind of something we took out of every car. We just, if it had a 40 in it, we take it out and put a bigger motor in back in the old days. So again, like I said, there's not a ton of information on them. And the Bastard 40 again was kind of one of those engines that just went away. You know, there's a few laying around. I think my buddy has one. He said he has one in Michigan or something. He goes, "Hey, do you want it?" And I'm like, "No." What would I put it in? And it's not a good engine. Okay, it was a problematic engine. It'd be kind of cool to have, maybe put one together and just kind of have it like you know, those water pumps or something like that maybe. But to put it in a car to drive, I wouldn't recommend it. Anyway, I'll talk to you a little bit later. Thanks for watching, and see your comments.